Good evening, and welcome once again to your weekly delight, the Glasscast podcast. Several times people ask questions about leadership. What is leadership? What does it entail? Who is a leader? You that is watching us today, who is your leader? In your organization, are you the leader? In your homes, are you the leader? Well, for some of us who have been looking forward to attend leadership masterclass, this is a starting point. We have a leadership guru with us this evening. So on this note, I want to welcome us once again to Glasscast podcast, where we discuss issues of great importance, issues that are educative, that are informative, and that will drive your instinct to know more. So welcome, sit right back this evening because we have a very important discussion. So with me in the house today, I'll start by my immediate left. We have an intellectual guru in our midst. So when I say it's an intellectual guru, he has a very long CV. And if we decide to read it this evening, it will be too long for us to do. But we'll summarize it. So I want to introduce to us the person of Professor Christian Harrison. He's a professor of leadership and enterprise at the University of Greater Manchester. You'll be glad you are here this evening because you are going to learn a lot from Professor. Professor, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Harry. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And again, we have our very own elder in the house. I call him the senior advocate. He's Dr. Barrister Sylvester Elder Oscar Liam. He's a very, he's an intellect personified. So we are here this evening to make you learn a lot about leadership this evening. So without wasting too much of our time, I want to say welcome once again to this episode.
Thank you, doctors. It's always a pleasure having you in this panel. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right.
And Prof, you're welcome. It's good to have you as always.
Thank you very much, Oscar, for inviting me.
Good. So, like I would always say, we bring you very interesting subjects. And I would encourage you, sit right back. If you need a cup of water or your popcorn, bring it closer because we are going to learn a lot this evening. Again, for you to understand where we are coming from, always go to our page. And when you are looking at our page, you see that bell, that ring bell button there. Don't just look at it. Just click on it, subscribe, so that you get notification when we bring up new episodes. So without wasting much of our time, let's discuss with Prof this evening. Prof, you're welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
So, I've done brief introduction, but for those that, don't know you too well, I would like you to, tell us a little bit about your journey as a professor, a Nigerian professor in the UK. You don't find that all over the place, it's one in a million. So I would want you to introduce yourself briefly.
First, thank you very much for doing this. I think it's a very laudable initiative, running a podcast of this nature. I think it's apt and it's timely as well. So It's a pleasure to be here. I think last time I was speaking in Arise, or I think it was Arise, and somebody was saying, wow, are you a professor? I expected to have all the white beard and all that. I expected to see this without the white beard. How come that you're this young? So I think it was one of the media houses. I had an interview. And the first thing I saw, the headline was how I became a professor at the age of 35. I was like, often everything I said, that was the only thing that the media could picture in everything I've said. So I think it's a privilege to have been a professor at an early age, if I'm to say that. But still, little about myself. Like you said, I'm Christian Harrison. First of 3 kids. So I'm Nigerian. I always say that I'm not originally Nigerian. I'm still Nigerian. I'm proud to be Nigerian. And I used to be a pharmacist before I decided to make my life more interesting by moving into academia. I always tell people I didn't like money too much. That was why I decided to go into academia. But I think it was serendipity, to be fair. So those days when there was no jackpot, if I were to say, because now a lot of people are moving to the UK, I decided to go and do my master's in the University of Aberdeen. So I was a pharmacist, really. So in that sense, I remember then when my previous dean, God bless his soul, he's late. So I was one of the best students. I had a distinction in pharmacy or first class. Wow. And he said, Christian, he sat me down and told me, Christian, I want you to remain in academia. I want you to be a lecturer. And I told him, I was like, this guy doesn't understand. How can he think I'm going to become a lecturer? I want to go and make money. Well, he told me something. He told me that you will still come back. And somehow, of course, I'm back. So after that, I left pharmacy, went to Aberdeen then to do my master's, finished as the best graduating student as in an MBA class then. And that was how the opportunity came. And I was told, like, hey, are you thinking of doing a PhD? Do you want to become a doctor? As a pharmacist, I used to have friends that were doctors, and they used to tell me, "You're just a pharmacist. You're not a doctor." I said, "Okay, I cannot become a doctor, isn't it? So I can tell my pharmacy friends that I'm not a doctor." So that was it, really. I was okay. Let me start this doctoral journey. So definitely, I started the doctoral journey. Had a PhD. Luckily for me, I got a job as a lecturer. Moved up the ranks from lecturer, senior lecturer, reader, and of course, I'm a professor at the moment. As a professor, I'm also the director of the Center for Leadership and Empowerment. I do a lot of consultancy. I was the chair of the British Academy of Management as well, the leadership group. I'm the chair for the Academy of African Studies, written several books on leadership. I always tell people I talk leadership, I write leadership, and I do leadership. So I do all that, and I try to do the best I can and to support, of course, other people, the younger ones.
Wow, this is interesting.
Thank you, Dr. Yeah. Prof, let me ask you, this transition, it looks dramatic and it looks too good to be real. You don't see that very often. Somebody, a pharmacist, a first-class pharmacist for that matter, distinction in master's program, MBA, and PhD, I'm sure you would have done it in record time. How do you have any regrets making this dramatic transition, moving from one end of the career to another end? Is that something you look back and regret?
The funny part is my mother was always saying, "Oh, why did you leave pharmacy? You just have done your doctorate in pharmacy." And the funny part is I spoke to one of my friends today. He just came from Nigeria, and I was telling him, like, after going through all the rigor, how hard to study pharmacy, you said to leave pharmacy and start going into the social sciences. I don't have any regrets at all, because I always feel that there's a reason for everything. I'm always the person that in every opportunity I have, I try to make the best use of the opportunity. Yeah. And like you said, I finished my PhD in 2.5 years, so I did it in record time as well. So if I have an opportunity, I would try to be the best in that. As a pharmacist, the good thing about the pharmacy profession, I liked to talk. So while I was a pharmacist, I was more like into counseling and talking. So I'm still using the same skill sets that I was able to use while as a pharmacist in what I do. So really, there is no regrets for me, although my mother might disagree and say, no, I wanted to have that. But I'm happy, of course, because of my role as a professor, I'm able to impact people's lives. I think for me, one of the reasons why I studied pharmacy then was to impact others. I didn't want to do medicine because I felt as a medical doctor, you're only just saving one life. But as a pharmacist, you can produce a medication that will save thousands of lives. And that's the same mentality I have as a professor. I believe that I can save and impact people's lives. And that's leadership for me.
Doctors, I know you are bubbling with some questions, but please let me take on Prof again.
No problem.
Prof, on this issue of you making this transition, I still find it intriguing and unbelievable, to be honest.
Especially to do it, first class pharmacy, distinction MBA, finish PhD in 2.5 years.
And to move this way.
And become a professor at 35
I was
years.
watching show already the other day. He said he has told Nigerian pastors that if they convert their churches to factories, that they will save more lives and do more miracles. That he has told the one in Dunamis, Pastor Dr. Paul Enenche, that if he should convert his church, the man is a doctor, Pastor Dr. Paul,
and the wife,
and the wife is doctor. He has told them that their 100,000 seater capacity, if they convert it to hospital, they will save more lives. But they don't want to hear anything about him again. But that's an aside. Just a kind of drawing an analysis from that. Prof, don't you think that, and from the beginning, you said you still introduce yourself as a Nigerian, not that I used to be a Nigerian. Don't you think that you would have been more impactful staying as a pharmacist than making this transition because of what we are passing through in Nigeria? We know of the medical crisis, the jackpot of medical practitioners and so on. Wouldn't you think that would have been something would have been more useful for us as staying as a pharmacist?
I think I get where you're coming from, Oscar, but I think I would have been more useful for you and more useful for you right now as a leadership expert, because I'm able to knock on doors. Like every time I'm in Nigeria, I'm talking through Arise, Silverbird channels. I'm able to go into support the government. I do a lot of work that shows my impact as a pharmacist.
Government, Nigerian government. I'm going to come to that.
so I'm able to support the government, both Scottish government, both Nigerian. So I think as a pharmacist, it might have been more difficult for me to do it. But right now, with my expertise as a leadership expert, people listen to what I have to say. And to me, that's important. Yes, maybe as a pharmacist, who knows, I would have gotten the medication that could have solved the Nigerian crisis or the pandemic, who knows. But I strongly believe that in life, it's just about the opportunities you have, you take them. And I have no regrets. I feel I'm doing the best I can with what I'm really doing.
Prof, I wanted to... because we made mention of your mom, you know, typical Nigerian mothers, they want to answer, my father,
my doctor, my lawyer. Don't do mistake about that.
Yeah, and I believe your mom was looking forward to answer my pharmacist, but you changed the narrative. How did she accept not being? Although she's still a my pharmacist, but she's now. It's a kind of combined honor, my professor as well, even though the pharmacy is not part of it. How was her feeling?
I think my professor is better for her. My professor is better. I think when she was my pharmacist, pharmacist. When she became my doctor, she was still like, she didn't really feel it. But my professor or her, especially when she sees my books, when she sees me on TV, says, that's my son. And she sends the links to everybody. But as a pharmacist, she won't have been able. Of course, if I had more money, maybe there'd have been more income coming in. As a pharmacist, who knows? But I think she's proud. One of the things that really happened, you won't believe, and this is another story. I can remember my daughter then. She told me one day, like, okay, Daddy, you're a fake doctor, not a real doctor. What do you mean? My friend, her daddy is the real doctor, he's the medical doctor, but I don't know the kind of doctor you are. I said, okay, no problem. Because of her, I said I'll become a professor, so that she will not call me a fake doctor again.
Prof, listen, you said my daughter came back from school one day. I was telling me that the teacher asked her if the father is a real doctor. I said, if you go back, tell them that I have a PhD. Whatever they want to make out of it, let them.
I'll tell you,
let them go ahead. But that's an aside. Let me let's drive deeper into the issue of leadership. You are an expert in that area. Probably may not scratch what you know. You know, I know about leadership philosophies. We have the strategic leadership philosophy. We have the servant leadership philosophy. We have the strategic, collaborative, autocratic. Which one do you think is up there in terms of the philosophy or the strategy that's best? Generally, I'm going to come specific to ask you which one you think is better for Nigeria.
Okay. Now, I like your question, Oscar. Very good question. As a leadership expert and scholar, I've written several books on leadership, so I just so many theories. I always tell my colleagues, there are so many theories as there are people. When you Google leadership theories every day, Now we had the pandemic, so we have crisis leadership now. With everything that was happening, adaptive, resilient leadership, responsible leadership. So you have just so many theories. You have over 100 theories of leadership, really. Yeah. Then I remember when I did my PhD then, I looked at entrepreneurial leadership. I believe that leaders have to be entrepreneurial. Leaders have to be able to recognize opportunities. They should take risks. So I'm very entrepreneurial in that sense. So I've written so much on entrepreneurial leadership. My PhD students have also done their thesis on entrepreneurial leadership. But going back to your question, what leadership approach am I more aligned with? Okay. Which one do I think is very pertinent, especially with what's happening in the world today? I would say servant leadership. I think for me, that's what I've been pushing the last several years now. I believe that leaders should be servants. It's always like a paradox when you think about leaders. Many leaders always feel like, people should serve them. But I think we have to change the paradigm. Leaders should be there to serve others. Leadership is about service, not about position. It's not about status. And for me, that's important. I had a PhD student several years ago that tried to find out, can servant leadership be applied beyond religion? And for me, that's important. We need leaders that can serve. That's the issue with political leadership, because many politicians, they don't believe that they are there to serve people. They believe that people should serve them. And that is a fundamental failure. So for me, so many leadership theories, but I'm more aligned to leaders.
Okay, I think it does your personal view, which I'm not going to argue with, even though I might differ on that. What's your thoughts about political leadership? Because to me, as a person, it may not be your view. I believe political leadership is the biggest and the pivot of all. When we were in university, one of my friends said there are 2 G's that can kill and nobody will question. One of the G's is God. The second G is government. And when you talk about government, I'm not talking of extrajudicial killing. When court sanctions that somebody has to be executed, and once that happens, nobody questions. So government, which is politics, is very, very fundamental and important. What is your thought about the issue of political leadership? As I'm of the opinion that is the fulcrum or is the center, it holds everything, and once that is lacking, the society will disintegrate. Before you come to entrepreneur or economic...
because I don't view political leadership as a theory of leadership. I view political leadership as a leadership adopted by politicians, in the sense that leaders, as a politician, you need to know the type of leadership that you have to apply. So in political leadership now, you might be saying, as a political leader, I want to be a servant leader. I want to be entrepreneurial. I want to be able to apply resilient leadership. I want to be adaptive. So it's more like saying, there's political leadership is a fulcrum that incorporates different theories of leadership. Okay. So yes, there's a political leadership, but it is a context. It is not really a theory. So in my case now, what I'll be saying is that yes, there's political leadership. So you need leaders, political leaders that are politicians. Of course, they need to think about how to apply leadership. So in that case now, what I strongly believe is what type of leadership theory should political leaders apply?
Okay. Thank you so much for making that clarification. That's why we have an expert here. But thank you so much. At least our viewers, that has been clarified and they've been able to learn that. That's why we are here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I believe we would push further this idea of leadership styles and patterns. But because we've come towards the political aspect of leadership, I think it's important we take it heads on. Again, I want to relate it to what you said earlier, that you have been speaking to the media houses in Nigeria, Arise, Silverbird, and all that, and I believe you have been giving them this insight about leadership, including political leadership. So I would want to get your perspective as a leadership scholar. What you think is the most pressing leadership challenges Nigeria is facing today? We use Nigeria to mirror, most African countries, but let's use
I think
Nigeria
I
as a
would,
case study.
after Prof answers, I would have comment on that, not a
Okay.
question. My personal view, since you brought Nigeria.
Yeah, I think it's important to just
No,
do
I'm happy you said that because, like I said it from the beginning. I'm of Nigerian, so it's always good to see how we can support Nigeria. But I like what you said. Most of the time, it could also be transferable in the sense that what applies to Nigeria might likely apply to other developing countries as well. But one thing about Nigeria, as you can see, it's strange because in Nigeria you have over 220 million people. That's one of the in population wise one of the biggest, one of the biggest
in the world,
in Africa, and GDP wise we are quite massive. We have if you look at in the banking sector, we're leaders in the banking sector as well, and you can see even in fintech we're doing quite well. So there's a problem, isn't it? There's this, I always say that we are sleeping giants. Something is wrong somewhere. Why is it that Nigeria has not been able to move from where we are to where we can be? And it's leadership. It's almost like ineffective leadership. Our leaders have failed in the sense that in form of vision, we lack visionary leaders. That has been the problem. I always say that I have an approach. I call it the vested approach.
Okay.
And for me, it's so important. And the vested approach incorporates key things. First, we need visionary leaders. We need leaders because at the end, what's the vision? Vision is about painting of how the future is going to look like. You have to have a clear plan. Okay, this is how I have a dream. Look at the UAE. Look at Singapore. Something changed. They had a vision. The leaders had a vision. Nigeria has had so much crude oil for the last couple
We had
of
Vision
years.
2010, Vision 2020. I think now is Vision
We're
2030.
having visions upon visions.
And we've still not got in there. So it's so important that we need to, that vision is key. And that has been a big challenge. That has been a big leadership challenge, is the vision. Painting the picture, okay, this is where we want to be and this is how we are going to get there. You spoke about Vision 2020, but the problem now, you have a dream. But if you don't have a plan, you're going to be a daydreamer. How do you attain?
Prof, let me interrupt you on this vision you mentioned. I'm still going to come back to my point. You know, today is 23rd or
23rd, yeah.
23rd. Between 20th and 22nd, there was this Tokyo International Conference on African Development. They call it TICAD 9. I think the 9th edition of it is taking place in Tokyo. And you know, in a conference and exhibitions like that, different countries were supposed to have their stands where there is bits, their things, the things they are known for, their products, their materials to attract their capability, showcase what they are known for, what they can produce. Where investors walk into their booths, normal exhibition, to see what can we do with this country, what can we do with this set of people. And it might interest you to know that on the first day of the exhibition, if you see the Nigerian booth, it was empty. All the way to Tokyo. In Tokyo, there was nobody there. They had nothing to exhibit. Even if it's Ankara or whatever, nothing. It was an empty booth. And they went with hundreds of delegates. So what vision did they have for going for that conference? But they're telling us they're making those visits to attract foreign direct investment and foreign investors. So that's the kind of vision we are talking about that Nigerian politicians have.
And I think
I think President Tinubu he went from Brazil to Japan now. It's not like he was there. He went, and the Minister for Trade and Investment has not said anything about it. But just that's interrupting the issue of vision.
So if I may clarify here, so I think what we are looking at is the political leadership now, because if you go to the business world, Nigeria is doing fantastic. Dangote is there, or the banking industry, the finance industry, Nigeria is doing fantastic. So I think where we are,
I will disagree with you on that.
Okay, please.
I have lived in Nigeria. I probably lived in Nigeria more recently than you, so I'm in a better position to tell you. In Nigeria, in any society where you don't have a middle class, you can't say that society is doing well or succeeding.
Okay.
In Nigeria, it's either you are stupendously rich or you are destitute, you are poor. And in any society, I remember growing up, my father was a classroom teacher, but we were middle class. Yeah, but you can't find that kind of thing in Nigeria now. And we're talking about bankers doing well. The bankers, the owners of the banks are the ones smiling big home at the end of every year. I can tell you, count 10 people that jackpot from the banking sector. And you don't assess a society by people who drive big cars, by people who live in big houses. What are the institutions? What is the healthcare? Human development index? All those kind of things. Why do you assess that? How do you assess that in Nigeria? Do you know how many companies have left Nigeria in the last 2 years alone?
So I think it's still a question of political leadership.
Yes, it is. So when you say the other economy is doing well, it's not doing well in any form or shape. People are begging. People are eating from the West Dump in Nigeria.
I think Prof may have a divergent view.
No, I think I know where Henry is coming from, because of when Henry is talking about when you look at leadership across maybe education, because leadership is not just about the about government or the politicians.
Exactly. Yeah.
You also have leadership within the health sector, and within the health sector, you might have fantastic leaders, or leadership within finance, leadership within education. So in every part of the world, really, the truth is, in every sphere of life, there's always a leader. Even leadership in the church or leadership in the mosque. So I get where Henry's coming from, but I understand that at the level of the government, it influences every other form of what happens.
I agree with you on that.
Within the world and within the organization. So the plans of the government and the strategies of the government would definitely affect how the middle, the people, of course, the low earners, the high income learners, the banks will operate. So those policies would definitely affect how Nigeria is going to be, or even not just Nigeria, really, the whole world. So that's why we have to think about the leaders, of course, at the level of government, because their policies will definitely affect how.
Prof,